Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Travels Through Aqua, Green and Blue, a memoir by Mary E. Gregory, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Part 1 Travels Through Aqua. I feel I began on this earth with a lot of potential. I wasn't anyone special, just the child of a southern preacher and the youngest of three. I was as adventurous, curious, and excited about my little life as the next kid. During my early childhood, I experienced a world that now seems like it came from a fictional novel. On paper, I shouldn't have had the life I do now. I shouldn't have my Pollyanna optimism, my warmness toward complete strangers, or my very rational mind. But great strength comes from great moments, often scary, lonely, yet powerful moments. I should start off by saying that I have a very good life. I have a best friend that I've known since the first day of 6th grade. I'm going to be celebrating my 20th wedding anniversary this August. I'm going to New Orleans for the first time ever and will be enjoying the jazz festival. I have all of these events lined up, all of these extraordinary, fun life experiences. I would say that I am very lucky. As a way to tame the chaos in my life recently, I've been doing a lot of meditation, a lot of soul searching and journaling. All of that brought me to finally writing my memoir. I'm sitting here on my couch at 5:30 in the morning watching my cats try to catch a moth that's circling around the room trying to avoid the rapture of my halogen floor lamp. I'm speaking into my phone to record the first inspirational moments of my memoir. I'm 36 years old. Yet today, sitting here, I feel unfulfilled. My work is exciting yet stressful. My commute is long, but I listen to audiobooks and music every day, so I feel like I'm personally developing. During the past year, while driving 2 hours through the concrete jungle to get to my Hollywood office, I've listened to over 15 audiobooks. The titles range from 50 Shades of Grey, which I regretted purchasing after about an hour of listening to it, to books like Think and Grow Rich and Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, the reason why I'm up at 5:30 in the morning, The Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman, Chicken Soup for the Soul and the Success Principles by Jack Canfield, Awakening Your Inner Genius by Sean Patrick, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and American Gods by Neil Gaiman. There's still something missing in my life. There's a part of me that still feels like it's waiting to be born. Maybe it's the writer in me, the one who's been waiting to come out of the closet. Or maybe it's the never been a mother in me. Like this will somehow awaken something inside and give me a reset my childhood for free card. Whatever it is, I've got to set out to find it. Through writing this book, I believe I will. The beginning. When I was 5 years old, several traumatic events that I believe broke her hit my mother, Linda, like a succession of freight trains. While she was married to my father, she was forced to own a stigma that she wasn't emotionally prepared to own. One bigger than her, and one bigger than our society at the time. What came next was much like a study on the fragility of the human mind, and our instinct to run far away from societal judgment. My father was the preacher of our church in Nashville, Tennessee. Brother Jack, as they called him, was also the music director and played piano and the church organ for many of the Wednesday night church meetings and Sunday services. He was almost 6 feet, 4 inches tall, had a slim build with dark brown hair and blue eyes, and a big brown mustache that parasailed off his wide and easy smile. His voice was calm and soft, quick to sympathize and assure you. We were a faithful family devoted to the church and what it meant to serve God. Everyone had a role, and we seemed to be playing our part. My brother Paul was the oldest, and at the time was 9 years old. He was tall and lanky with light hazel eyes. He was born to be a country boy, though he lived in the suburbs. His hair was brown like maple syrup and sat on his head like he'd just taken off an army helmet. It was long enough in the front to reach his eyebrows, the tips of his ears, and the nape of his neck. No matter what you asked him, his whole face always seemed to be thinking hard about your question. He sported corduroys and blue jeans, the knees tattered with holes, some patched and some patches with holes in them still. He was endlessly dusting off dirt and leaves from his grass-stained jeans. Paul was born with a rare skin condition, which fully expressed itself when he was around 7 years old. His entire body was covered in brown birthmarks, some small, some large, but they were everywhere, and it looked like someone decided to splatter warm chocolate syrup on his body. In the family, we called it professia, multiple birthmarks. Said just like that, all scientific sounding, though when I went searching for it when I was older, I couldn't find a skin disease called that. I did find an image of a woman who had skin like my brother's. It turns out it was actually called leopard syndrome. My sister Samantha, who I called Sam, was small and petite with light brown blonde hair bordering on platinum. Our mom always told us that her hair hadn't grown in until she was 2 years old, and that everyone said she looked like a real-life toddler baby doll with her striking deep-set green eyes and little teeth that looked like chiclets. She had light brown freckles that fell across her nose and rosy cheeks like tiny peanut butter-colored snowflakes. They were more natural, delicate, and stereotypical freckles than my brother's. She got the pale skin and high cheekbones from the German side of our mother's family, along with the short stature and thicker form like my mother's sisters, who only grew to 5 feet 2 inches to 5 feet 6 inches tall, compared to our mom's larger stature of 5 feet 10 inches. My sister was an independent thinker and doer from an early age, but still sensitive and respectful of her elders. She took on chores without ever being asked, and she kept herself and her belongings organized. She seemed to be born with the knowledge of self-reliance, an I-can-fix-anything attitude, but with a dash of shyness that made her overall behavior tame. Obeying the rules got her noticed, praised, and fulfilled her need for attention, the right kind of attention for someone with her level of shyness. She was a natural-born older sister, though, at least when we were younger. I looked up to her and wanted to be around her as much as possible. She, on the other hand, wanted independence from her annoyingly ever-present little sister. I had the tall and lanky genes from my father's side, with round blue eyes and blondish hair that my mom always called dishwater blonde, which always made me feel like somehow I got left in the sink too long when they were giving out real hair colors. I didn't have any real identifying beauty marks except the one. I had an adventurous tomboy disposition, but the good girl followed the rules to obedience from the faith I'd grown up to respect and fear. My hair was long and stringy, approaching wavy, but finally settling on tangled. I was my older sibling's gullible and obedient little sister. One vivid memory when my sister got the best of me stands out. It was a hot summer day. Sam told me that whoever could drink their soda first would win something, so I ran to the kitchen and poured out my 7-Up bottle that we just got from the porch soda machine at the neighborhood convenience store up the street. It went right down the sink, every single last fizzy ounce of it. Thinking I had won whatever prize she was offering, if she even did offer one, I pranced to the living room where she was standing, tipping my glass bottle, only a single drop crawling out to the floor to freedom. "Ta-da! I won!" I exclaimed and showed her my emptied bottle with a victorious stance. My sister stood there laughing, a full bottle of 7-Up in her hand, the round green bottle filling her entire small hand, her lips curled around the opening as she swallowed. As she laughed at my gullibility, her chuckle amplified through the inside of the bottle, and I realized she was smarter than me. For as long as I could remember, everyone was always extra nice to me whenever I was with my father, handing me candy and a quick wink whenever he'd stop to talk to one of the deacons, church staff, or members as we walked the long hallways of the church. He was always performing sermons, volunteering, and doing other preacher duties for the church, such as the monthly baptisms for adults wanting to be born again and for the little children when it was their time to be saved. I was only 4 1/4 years old for my baptism. I had learned from my sister to use quarters in your age if you wanted to seem older, though at the time I didn't know exactly how many quarters I was, so I only used the one. The large clear tub of water that sat at the front of the church, glistening under the lights, made it easy to see the small waves that both rippled and jiggled softly against the edges of the plastic tub. The bright white light shining on the water made it majestic-looking, clear yet mysterious, like one of my large blue marbles. This big body of blue peacefulness somehow made me feel special. You could see right through the water even while standing in the back of the church. The blue was so blue up there against all the wood paneling, the organ pipes, and long floor-to-ceiling dark red drapes. The contrast was stunning. It was like a blue watery moon in the sky of our church. I was one of several kids getting baptized that night, but I wasn't the first. I had a lot of pride knowing my dad was going to be baptizing some of the other kids and a few adults that night. I watched each person as they walked up and willingly devoted themselves to Christ, got dunked, and walked out soaking wet, transformed. It was interesting observing the ritual while standing in line for my turn. Once it was mine, I walked toward my dad and got closer to the water. I could see it splashing around and dripping off the sides like rain on a car windshield. I felt a great sense of hesitation, and my legs suddenly got heavy and wobbly. My dad encouraged me to walk toward him, as he could see my growing reluctance with each step. I didn't realize there was so much water when I gazed at it earlier, but being right near it overwhelmed my young self.